Something that CDs, cash, and money market cannot defend against.
That's exactly
Inflation
right.
can get right through the wall and tear down what you've got. Let's bring this a little bit closer to home. What do you see as the short-term and long-term effects for Arkansans with the tax issues the way they're heading if they continue to go unchecked in the direction they are?
Well, of course, we just finished our legislative session. And in fact, what we did, our contribution to these tough economic times in the state legislature was that the majority of state representatives and state senators, not me, but the majority of legislators voted to increase taxes $100 million in the middle of a recession. And that's the sort of thing that doesn't help working families, and that's the sort of thing that I think is very dangerous to economic growth. You know, again, we need to have an economic policy which focuses on capital formation and job creation and investment, and it's just tough to do when we continue to pile on these new taxes. And more particularly, the philosophy that I'm afraid that we had this last session was that, you know, we need new programs. We have this new series of hospitals that we're going to fund, and we collectively made the decision, not me, but the majority of legislators made the decision that we can't look at closing any old programs. We can't look at modernizing any programs. What we have to do is we have to pile on this new system of spending onto all the old programs without ever examining any of them to see if any of them have reached their natural lifespan. And so, of course, it's very dangerous to economic growth when we continue to grow government and we continue to target people like we did with shareholders last year, we did with smokers this year. It's very dangerous when we continue to target people and raise the aggregate taxes on everybody without ever figuring out a way to cut spending. So I'm afraid that the Arkansas legislature has made a contribution, a negative contribution, to Arkansas's economy. And there are some real changes in tax policy I think that we need to make, but that we did not make this last session.
All right, Dan, here's the final question I want to ask you, and probably the most important question. We had a wonderful turnout. Some estimates have come in that there were over 3,000 people that attended the Tea Party. You and I, of course, were both there. And we saw the excitement, we saw the motivation. There were some very interesting signs, very creative signs that were made. But here's my final question. Dan, how do we change this? We have talked about the difficulty of taxes, the devastation taxes can cause. The direction we're heading is in the wrong direction. Tell me, how can we change directions in this country? What can we do?
Well, on the most important tax vote of this last session, we had 75 members of the House vote in favor of a tax increase, and we had 25 members of the House vote against it. And it's often occurred to me that serving in the state legislature is not very different from a simple math lesson. A lot of the times, advocates of lower taxes and smaller government in a free society are outnumbered by what I call big government liberals. And so it's very, very important that we get just a few more people in there, just a few more people who believe in lower taxes and economic growth. If we, for instance, in our case, if we did that, they have to have 75 out of 100 votes to raise taxes. If we could just get 26 members, if we could just get 26 members who were committed to tax reform, lower taxes, simpler taxes, fairer taxes, I think the landscape of Arkansas politically in the House of Representatives and thus in Arkansas would be very, very different.
Amazing. Do we have that opportunity coming up in 2010, or are my dates off? And
we have that opportunity in every election, every 2 years. We have the opportunity to get people who serve in the legislature who are believers in individual freedom and lower taxes and smaller government. But the people of Arkansas haven't always acted on that. But it's my hope that we're moving towards a change. I think when we saw thousands of people, literally hundreds of thousands of people across the nation demonstrating at these tea parties, that's a sign. It's my hope that that's a signal that will make policymakers and elected officials wake up. It's my hope that we can have a future of freedom and individual responsibility, lower taxes and smaller government.
Dan, I want to thank you for coming on the show today.
Yeah.
I appreciate so much. Dan Greenberg, State Representative for District
31. Pulaski and Saline County.
Pulaski and Saline County. Folks, there it is. You can get mad, you can get angry, you can get disgusted, but the power you've been given is the power to go into that polling booth and vote for lower taxes by finding the candidates who are willing to take our country back. And let me leave you with this tonight. We want to send you back to some more highlights from the Tea Party itself. But let me leave you with this final thought. The quality of life is not summed up just by the quantity of your possessions. There's much more to life than that. Thank you. We'll see you next week on the show You, Me, and Wall Street. Bye-bye.
It's amazing how you see the Tea Party movement sweeping across the United States. And I feel like the reason it's sweeping across the United States is for what I said. There's a lot of people that we call the silent majority that are just not going to be silent anymore. And Bloomberg News reported that the bailouts right now are approaching the total value of everything produced in the United States last year in 2008. Now just think about that. Just think about that for just a moment. It's unbelievable to think that bailouts, giving our money out of our pocket that we're working for, they're just giving it away to people. They're rewarding the people that are failing. I can assure you of one thing. A crushing amount of debt will equal one thing. It's going to equal unbelievable future tax hikes. And what we have to do is we have to pull together. And I feel like this grassroots movement is all about finding common ground. There's a lot of liberals, Democrats, and independents, libertarians that are waking up and turning a positive attitude towards this movement nationally.